Hello everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the 1111 Matrix Code Revealed. As always, I'm your host, Garrett King. Today's video is going to hopefully demonstrate to all of you what I have been talking about. Each video, I keep saying this, I keep showing you elements of this code using gematria. And again, that's what I'm going to do today. But what is fascinating about this bit of research that I'm going to show you is I have taken the mathematical equation that started all of this. Okay, so for those of you that have been around since the very beginning, you know what that, or you should know what that equation is. It was simply taking two numbers, 1111 and 333, and multiplying them together, okay? And that simple process is what has unlocked this entire thing. There have been moments where it seems like the information has been divinely given to me. I've discussed that in previous videos. And there have just been weird synchronicities, major synchronicities throughout this entire thing. And the idea that we are in a simulated reality being controlled by this code, and by me going in and finding where certain events that have happened are encoded within this, as I've shown you with the two plane crashes here recently, what I found on 9/11, what I found on JFK, it's demonstrating that every single event, whether it be in the past, in the present, or in the future, is recorded and encoded within this code. So with that thought in mind, it had me questioning the code itself and the means of finding it. Would that be encoded within the code? It would have to be, because obviously I found it. So I guess what I'm trying to say is I was questioning whether the instructions, if you will, would be encoded. And could that explain how, because I've talked about this in the past, how it feels like sometimes people in Hollywood making certain films like The Matrix or the movie Knowing, how it seems like these people are tapped into something. They're channeling something, or they just simply have knowledge that the majority of us don't have. Could they have possibly discovered this code themselves, but kept it very, very secret, very quiet? And my stumbling across the code, well, I have no reason to keep it quiet. It's like I want everyone to see it, because it's fascinating to me. It's fascinating what it does. It's fascinating what it shows. And it's just that whole idea, that concept that, that this reality around us isn't real. It's just an extraordinarily intriguing idea. And to see these things play out, like I'm going to show you today, it just continues to blow my mind. So let's just jump into this, because that's going to be the best way to demonstrate what I'm talking about here. So what I did is I took the mathematical equation that started all of this. And you guys are well aware, or you should be, at least those of you that have stuck around this entire time, you should be well aware of what that mathematical equation was. It was simply taking two numbers, 333 and 1111, and multiplying those together. So the act, okay, the process, the steps of doing that, I just simply wrote it out to get my base term. And all I wrote, and I'll show you what the base term is, it's right here. I just simply typed 1111 times 333. Okay? So that means we're taking 1111 and multiplying that times 333. So the way I wrote it out was just 1111, because I'm thinking, like, when I'm thinking of these things, I'm thinking of like how it's written down. So you write down 1111 and then you use X and then 333. So I'm thinking of it as how we see it visually and then how we say it verbally. So, we would never sit there and say, 1111 multiply 333. We would say 1111 times 333. Or we would say, take 1111 and multiply it by 333. So I just did a basic term, okay, which is, as you can see right here, 1111 times 333. Okay? I didn't want to get super in depth with it. I just wanted to be like as basic as I could. These phrases that I'm going to show you are step-by-step instructions. Okay? Which now has me thinking that others simply could have found this using this method. It's quite possible. It's quite possible. I seem to have taken the long way around, if you will, to get to this moment. But as you're going to see, each phrase that I'm going to show you is a step-by-step instruction. It's just extraordinary. So anyway, 1111 times 333. That's the base term, and the value that it gave me was 2378. And in line with everything else, these phrases must meet that criteria. It must meet that value, 2378, and it must relate to the master term. So, here we go. Now, actually, before I go to the next one, as you know, or should know at this point, when you take 1111 and multiply it times 333, so 1111, let's just do the math here so you guys can see. 1111 times 333, it gives us 369963. It is a palindrome. Okay? So keep that in mind when you see this next phrase. And the phrase is, the total is 369963 and a real palindrome code. Now think about this, folks. The base term is the math equation, and the second phrase that I found is telling us what the total of that equation is. It's describing the fact that it's a palindrome, and it's describing the fact that it is a code. And it is. We know this. We know this. So again, look back over here. This is the math equation, 1111 times 333. The total is 369,963. Palindrome, it means it reads the same forwards and backwards, and it does. And this phrase, the total is 369,963, and a real palindrome code. But we're not done. There's more. The next one. Okay, the next phrase is then add 1111 to the palindrome seed. Okay, then add 1111 to the palindrome seed. Its value, 2378. What was the process? What was the process? What were those random thoughts coming to me? What did they tell me to do? Okay, so that the day that this all started with seeing the numbers 333 and 1111 all in one day, okay, that was, I'm talking about the day that sparked that thought about, do these numbers have a connection? And that random thought popped into my head to multiply the numbers together. And I did. That's when I saw 369,963. As I've talked about, that number meant something because I was aware of Nikola Tesla. And I was aware that he had said, if you only understood the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, you would hold a key to the universe. So, of course, when I saw that result, it stood out to me. It meant something. But it also meant something to me because it was a palindrome. Okay? Now, if you recall, I'm sitting here staring at this number and thinking to myself, okay, what am I supposed to do with this? The next thought that popped into my head was to add 1111 to that number. Okay? And that's what generated the first 1111 matrix code number, 371074. It's telling us right here, okay? We have the mathematical equation, 1111 times 333. It's telling us that the total is 369,963. And then it's telling us to add 1111 to the palindrome seed. Okay? Why is it saying seed? The reason I think it's saying seed is because this is the number, the palindrome number, that seeds every new number. You should know this because the whole process is taking 1111 times 333, getting 369,963. We add 1111 to that number. Okay? It generates the first number in the code, 371074. As you all will hopefully recall, there was like a day or two that went by that I had no other thoughts popping into my head. I'm sitting here staring at this number, 371074, for the longest time, wondering what the hell does it mean? So it was at least 2, maybe 3. I can't remember exactly. I think it was 2 though. Days that went by, and then suddenly another random thought popped into my head, which was to add 369,963 to that number and every new number that I got. Okay. So that means taking the 371074, adding 369,963 to get the new number, and then just keep that process going. I took this equation all the way up into the 100 billions. Okay. And the seed is simply because you're taking every new number and adding 369,963 to it every single time, every single time, every single time. And as I've demonstrated and showed you, that every single one of those numbers will come back to 1111. So, for example, okay, so let's just follow the process of what it's telling us to do. Okay, so we already have the mathematical equation. We've already multiplied them together. So we've taken 1111 times 333. It tells us what the result is. And then now it's saying, then add 1111 to the palindrome seed. So it's telling us add 1111 to this number. Okay. We hit enter. The new number is 371074. As I have demonstrated in the past, every single one of these numbers reduces to the number 4. That's what basically gave me the key to unlock these numbers. And what I mean by that is the number 4. So if you take the last 4 digits and add the remaining, every single one of these numbers will come back to 1111. So we take 1074, add 37, and we have 1111. Okay? Now, I'm doing this for the people that are new and haven't been around to know this whole process. So we had that first number, 371074. Now, let's look at the next phrase. So we've completed this process, these steps so far, okay? So let's look at the next step. What does it tell us to do? Okay. So it says, then add 1111 to the palindrome seed. And the next phrase says, and one by one, continue adding the palindrome to make each generated number. Folks, what are the chances? What are the chances? And look, the value of every single one of these phrases matches the base term, the mathematical equation, 2378. And it says, one by one, continue adding the palindrome. Okay, so the palindrome is 369963. So let's do that. So we're going to add 369963. Now we have the next generated number. And as it says, to make each generated number. And that's what I did. That is what I did. It is describing the steps that I went through to a T. Again, folks, you have to ask yourselves, what are the chances? It's mind-boggling. Now, as I just said a moment ago, every single one of these numbers comes back to 1111 if you follow that process of taking the last 4 digits and adding the remaining. So right here, if you take 1037 and add 74, you will have 1111. Okay? So let's just look. 1037 plus 74, it's 1111. Every number does this. As the number continues to grow, okay, like up into the 100 billion mark, you'll take the last 4 digits, the next 4 digits, the next 4 digits, and then whatever's remaining. Add them up. You'll get 1111. Actually, what you'll get as the numbers grow is you'll get 1111 0. Okay? It'll look like this. Okay? It'll look like that. But again, if you follow the steps, the procedure of taking the last 4 digits and adding the remaining, this 1 will jump to the end, and you're right back to 1111. Okay, let's keep going. Now it says the number is an encoded 1111 DNA code. Now, let's go back. Okay. So let's go back. Let's do the whole process again. 1111 times 333. It tells us it's 369963. Then it says add 1111 to the palindrome code. We do. Okay. And one by one, continue adding the palindrome to make each generated number. Okay. So we have the first one. Let's just go ahead and do the next one. All right. And it's telling us these generated numbers, it's telling us that the number is an encoded 1111. How do we know this? I just showed you. Take the last 4 digits and add the remaining. It comes back to 1111. Now, why does it say DNA code? I have no earthly idea. No earthly idea. Unless there is something within our DNA that causes certain people to be guided towards this number, 1111. That's a possibility. That is a possibility. Go back to what the numbers that I found in the gematria phrases, such as only the chosen will see. Is there a certain number of people on this planet that have this internal connection to 1111? It's within our DNA. That's something that just, it calls to us. We see the number. I've talked about this. At one point, my email box was so full of like over 40,000 emails from people all over the world talking about seeing this number. Now, I mean, obviously, I'm not able to read 40,000 emails, but, and I'm sure that some of them, were probably talking about seeing other numbers, and that's okay. But, just the ones that I scanned through, they were all talking about seeing the number 1111. So it seems like that there is something within certain people that connects them to this number. And let's not forget the fact that, all the times that I've been on certain podcasts with people talking about this code, and then after, like a day or two later, they're emailing me, telling me that they're now starting to see this number. It's crazy. It's crazy. But again, we're getting step-by-step instructions. It is describing the exact process that I went through because I was having these random thoughts. And I've always referred to them as random thoughts. I have never once said that I was hearing voices. If I was hearing voices, I would tell you. But I've never heard voices in my head instructing me to do any of this. It was random thoughts. But where did those random thoughts come from? Where did they come from? Okay, let's keep going. The next one. The invisible controls the visible. Now, how does this relate? Well, it's quite simple, actually. The invisible controls the visible. This code, now that we're aware of it, but before we were aware of it, before I was even aware of it, I had no idea it even existed. So it was technically invisible. And even though it's invisible and I wasn't aware of it, it's still controlling the reality that we're in. It is invisible to some people. It's now been made visible to me, but it's still invisible to other people, especially those that, take a look at my work and just, like dismiss it, just scoff at everything that I've been showing them, choosing not to see. But if this is a simulation, which I truly believe it is being controlled by this code that is running underneath everything. Now, I'm sitting here looking at the camera. I'm looking at my monitor here, my desk. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a camera, monitor, desk. I'm not seeing the code that is running underneath it that is making these elements to where they seem real and solid, something that we can touch. The code is running underneath. So yes, the invisible does control the visible. Again, 2378. That's the other fascinating part of this, folks, is you have to keep in mind that this is describing everything and it all has the same total and connects to the master term. Okay, let's go on. The next one, truth will set you free. Truth will set you free. I mean, that in of itself is it's just self-explanatory. We are discovering a truth. Not a truth that everyone's going to be willing to accept, and that's okay, like I've said in my last video, I cannot, and it's not my intentions to try to persuade people to believe a certain thing. I'm merely showing you what I find. It is well within your choice to make up your mind what you choose to believe. Okay? I can't make that decision for you. I can only show you what I'm finding. I can tell you what my thoughts and ideas are, and you may have thoughts and ideas that are completely your own and separate, and it's fine. It's fine. But we cannot dismiss the fact that there is a code, a provable code. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so interesting here. Nikola Tesla obsessed over these cognate numbers. Okay. Now, that one is just, it's extraordinary, and we have to think outside the box. Now, Nikola Tesla obsessed over these cognate numbers. Okay, it's not talking about the numbers that are being generated in the 1111 matrix code. It's referencing back to the palindrome number of 369963. We know this to be true because Nikola Tesla is quoted as saying, if you only understood the magnificence of the 3, 6, and 9, you would have the key to the universe. And he was obsessed over these numbers. He would do things like if he went and stayed somewhere at a hotel or something, I think he would walk around the building 3 times before he would go in. Or the room number that he stayed in had to be divisible by 3, 6, or 9. I think I read somewhere where when he cleaned his plates or his dishes, he would use 18 different napkins or paper towels or something, to wipe them clean. He was obsessed over these numbers. And the word cognate, what does that word mean? Well, it simply means that the numbers are connected to one another. And clearly they are. 3, 6, and 9, they're all divisible by 3. You double 3, you get 6. You add 3 to 6, you get 9. They're interrelated. They're connected. And that's simply what the word cognate means. And again, this is a true statement. Nikola Tesla obsessed over these cognate numbers. And that phrase, 2378. All right, let's look at the next one. Okay, and this is the last one. So we're just about to wrap up here. This phrase is extraordinary. And when you see what I'm about to show you, folks, this is kind of like an aha moment. Again, in proving this code exists. So the last phrase that I found is add this number to its mirror reflection to see the real connection. Okay, let's think about this. So most people would probably look at that phrase and assume that it's talking about 369963. Okay? It's telling us to add this number to its mirror reflection to see the real connection. but it's not. It's not talking about 369963. The number that it's talking about is the Latin Jewish value that all of these phrases have, 2378. And I'm going to show you right now why that is. So 2378, the instruction is add this number to its mirror reflection to see the real connection. Now, again, it's not telling us what number to use. I had to figure this out on my own. But again, this is where you have to start thinking outside of the box. It's like it's a riddle, and we have to solve the riddle. Okay? So 2378. What does it say? Add this number to its mirror reflection. So we're going to. So we're going to add 8732. And folks, watch what we're going to get. What are the chances? Again, this is not coincidence. This is so far beyond coincidence. So far beyond coincidence. I start with a phrase that is the mathematical equation that started all of this. I find phrases that describe the exact steps to go through, or the exact steps that I went through in order to discover this code and everything that it's unpacked this entire journey. And then to find a phrase that says add this number to its mirror reflection, and it's referring to the gematria value. So people that want to scoff and say gematria is just a bunch of bullshit, I have to disagree. We take that number, we add its mirror reflection as the instruction tells us, and we get this. Okay? And what did I just say a moment ago, earlier, when I was talking about how the 1111 matrix code numbers being generated all the way up into the 100 billions? What happens is you take the last four, the next four, the next four, and whatever's remaining, add those up. And what did I say? What number did I say that you would get? At first I said 1111, but then I corrected myself and said, no, you'll actually get this number, 11110. But if you follow the path, the instructions that I've already gone through, and take the last four digits and add the remaining, okay, so let's just do it right here on screen. So we're going to take the last four digits, and we're simply going to add what's remaining, which was 1. And we have 1111. And it's telling us to see the real connection. For those that want to sit here and say that, again, that gematria is just a bunch of bullshit, I have to disagree. There is a connection. We're seeing it. We're seeing it right here. And again, the instructions are all laid out. They're all laid out. Which means what I've said basically all along is that anyone could have found this code had they simply did or done the math like I did. 1111 times 333. Is it possible that others have found this code but has never talked about it, or is it such a big secret that they've been keeping it a secret? And me, I'm just this random person who discovered it. Now I'm just revealing it to the entire world, which now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, go back to the phrases, Garrett King decodes the God matrix, or in God, Garrett King is the chosen mathematician. It's like those types of things, which I still struggle with, but they're true. I mean, that's what the value of those phrases are, and they're describing exactly what I'm doing. It does. It now seems 100%, 1,000% that This has all been meant to happen from the very beginning. From the very beginning. But that doesn't mean that someone else or a group have not known about this code longer than I have. Because again, look at certain movies that are being put out that describe these things that we just take as being entertainment. The Matrix, the movie that, Knowing, there's just a ton of other films. Like, what's the one, Nope, the movie Nope. There's a certain scene in that movie where they call in, I think it's like an electronics guy to come in and install cameras all around their property. And if you watch this movie, or if you've seen this movie or own it, go back and watch that particular scene where they have that person come in. I want to say that the company was called Fry's Electronics or something like that. FRY''S. Maybe, I can't remember. But I hope I'm at least close. If not, then geez, I probably look like an idiot. But anyway, go to that scene. If you have the movie, go to that scene. If you don't have the movie and you have the means to sit down and watch it, watch up to that point and look at the van. The license, I think it's the license plate on that van is 1111. Just popped right in there. So, I mean, yes, I know that people are aware of the number 1111 because of all the websites talking about it being an angel number. It's 1111, make a wish, all these types of things. But when you see things like this taking place, especially the movie Knowing, I mean, the more I think about this, and it is crazy that the parallels between that movie and my discovery of this information, it's a little creepy, to say the least. But when you look at certain things about that movie, like what's the first event that Nicolas Cage discovers in the numbers? It's the events of 9/11. How does the movie end? It ends with a solar flare event, like I've been talking about. Even the length of the movie is 121 minutes. And 121 is the equivalent of 11 times 11. So again, you just have to question who's known about this? Who's known about this? And if they've known about it and they have found what I have found and have been showing you guys all this time, then tie that in to the encoding that I did about 2058 and talking about the deep underground military bases. If they don't already know, why are they building them? Or if they found them, which was a question that I raised, and they went in and re-supported them, restructured them, possibly added on to them, made them bigger. Again, the question is why? What do they know? And when we ask the question, what do they know? Are they basing what they know on what they found? And could it be what they found through this code? A lot of questions, a lot of unanswered questions. But again, we're just trying to put the pieces together to the puzzle. But this right here, what I feel like personally, what I've been showing you guys over these past several weeks, is just extraordinary connections through numbers and gematria. And when you think in terms of every letter having a value, every word having a value, Everything that we speak, everything that I'm speaking to you right now is a mathematical number. And math or numbers, it's the universal language. Of course, that would be the code that is being used to generate this reality, this simulated reality. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here. As always, please let me know what your thoughts are in the comments. I mean, I'm going to keep plugging away at this. One last thing before I go. Actually, I want to say, if the instructions for discovering the code are contained within the code, then folks, I guarantee you, so is the primer. So is the primer. Just have to find it. All right. I'm going to wrap this up here. So until next time, I hope you all take care, and we'll talk again soon. Bye-bye.